She earned her BSN in 2013, went straight into the medical intensive care unit, and spent years in one of the most demanding clinical environments in healthcare. In 2017, she returned to school for her master's while continuing to work. She graduated in 2019 and has since served patients across multiple clinical settings, most recently spending 4 years in urgent care before transitioning into occupational health. Let's chop it up. Sara, how you doing this morning?
I'm wonderful. How are you today? Thank you for having me.
Good. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with us, and for that, we are grateful. So tell us a little bit about Sara. Who are you? Where did you grow up? A little bit about your childhood. Who's Sara?
Well, Sara is, I am a mother. I'm a wife. I have 2 toddlers, so all the things that entails. I'm constantly busy running around. I'm in that busy stage of life right now. But aside from family life, I'm also a nurse practitioner. I've been in the nursing field for over 10 years now, since 2013. So, that's a large portion of my life as well, just focusing on my patients. I have a YouTube channel, so I enjoy social media in my spare time. I love to travel. I love trying new foods. I'm always constantly exploring and trying to expand my life in many different ways. Growing up, I lived hmm, I'd say a sheltered life. I was one of 3 daughters. My parents were both teachers, so I spent a lot of time and um, reading and focusing on my education. And once I graduated high school and kind of stepped out into the world, I decided that nursing was really something that I wanted to pursue. So I went to I went to college, and I actually commuted. I went to brick and mortar, but it was very close to my home, my childhood home. So I commuted. I was a commuter, so I didn't live on campus, but I commuted, and that was probably the best option for me, because I was very close to my family, and so it was nice to still live at home in the meantime of going to school. So after my earning my 4-year degree in nursing, I I branched out and hit the ground running and haven't stopped since.
Some people get to choose their careers in life, and then others are chosen. I call the work that you do in doctors and nurses, I call that angel work. And we need more angels like you in the community. I'm on a cohort at Duke University, and Dr. Tyler Allen and Dr. Terrell Corn, who's an oncologist there, we doing a series on called "Missing at the Table," and just so a lot of times we are just misrepresented in healthcare. All that comes with that, the misnomers, the not understanding clinical trials and not even knowing that you have options. So it's just a breath of fresh air to see someone like you in the field doing the work and doing it sincerely and caring about the people. And so I commend you on that, and kudos to you for that. So growing up as a child, did you think you wanted to be a nurse, or it just happened as you transitioned?
You know what? It's funny because so many people have these stories about, they had a family member who was ill, and they just knew from the start that they love caring for people, and they have like these very passionate and deep stories. And I don't necessarily have one of those. So I felt like, there was something wrong. I'm like, is this really something that I'm really meant to pursue? But what really interested me and kind of sparked some curiosity for me was I think I was a junior in high school, and I was having a sit down conversation with my mom about, okay, what am I going to do with my life? And she said, Sarah, you should think about nursing. The trajectory is really good. The outlook for the career is wonderful. You're always going to have a job. And, she knew me to my core, and she did know, like, Sarah, you have a caring heart, so I really think this might be a great fit for you. So that was the start of my nursing career. I said, you know what? I'm gonna try this out. Let me see where this takes me, this journey takes me. And it honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better career to pursue. Nursing has been wonderful, wonderful for me.
It's a lot of giving to others. And I ask this question a lot. So when you're constantly giving of yourself and you're taking on these, I wouldn't say burdens, but sometimes the first person that a person on the other end see is you or the doctor. And so they don't have anyone else and they're kind of unloading and dumping on you. So over the years, how has Sara adjusted, and what fills your cup after you fill so many other people's cup? How do you decompress from all of that?
Decompress. I try. So the thing with decompressing for me is I have to be very intentional about it because
Hmm.
my default go mode. I'm constantly, I'm constantly striving to do my best and constantly focused on learning and what's the newest treatment, what's the newest, information that's out there. So I'm constantly trying to learn new things, constantly caring for my patients. And then when I get home, I have to care for my family. I'm cooking dinner, I'm cleaning, I'm doing laundry. So for me, I think it probably was about 3 years ago. I really had to take a pause because I was burnt out. And I felt frustrated and angry all the time. So I told myself, Sarah, you need to stop and really figure out what it is that makes you happy, and that fills your cup, like you were saying. So I'm intentional about it. I am very consistent in the gym. Going to the gym at 5:30 in the morning when everyone in my house is sleeping, there's barely anyone there, and just really just lifting those heavy weights and creating new goals for myself, that really fills my cup. So being consistent in the gym, even waking up and having a cup of coffee and walking outside and literally touching grass, literally,
Yeah.
that fills my cup. Just being intentional and taking those moments to myself with just peace and quiet in my thoughts. And that really does fill my cup, and traveling, of course, like planning a trip here and there. But I'm talking about those everyday things that I can do, those small and quiet moments to myself. That's what does it for me.
That is so important. When I don't know if you read my bio, but I'm a two-time stage 4 cancer thriver, Hodgkin's lymphoma and
Amazing.
non-Hodgkin's. So that is like ridiculous to be on both ends of that spectrum. And I think exercise kind of saved my life. I was very athletic, and I used to race bikes, cycling, and used to bodybuild, all those things. And when I first got diagnosed with the cancer, my doctor said if you weren't so fit, we would be having a different conversation. And so the Bible says, I think it's a scripture in the Bible says, exercise profit is little or something like that. But it's the little that it does work that you need. And I think, like you, that was my safe place. After the chemo, I would walk 5 miles and still do 30 minutes on my trainer because I had to get into that space that protected me. And it's still working. I'm
Yes.
not in remission. I'm still in the fight, but I'm still here too. And so I understand what you're saying about finding that happy place with exercise and in the gym and things like that. So you started out in your career in the ICU. Now, was that by choice or that's just where you landed?
No, it was intentional on my part. I dreamt of being an ICU nurse. I felt that they were just the most intelligent and just knowledgeable and just cool. like I started my career working med surge, so that pretty much is just when you're a new nurse, you get stuck on a med surge floor. You just got to learn the basics of nursing, and I would see the ICU nurses, caring for the critical patients. I would see them, rushing through the hospital with taking patients to CAT scan. And I'm like, I am going to be an ICU nurse one day.
Mm.
So I just took a leap of faith. I completed my 1 year on a med surge. It was like a telemetry observation unit. And I decided, I saw a job posting on the career page at my hospital. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. So I
Yeah.
applied. I got the position. And at the end of the day, it was very beneficial for me starting in the ICU as a nurse because I really wanted to get just a deeper level and a good baseline and build those strong clinical skills right from the beginning so that, I can really take my nursing skills anywhere. And it really did work out for me in that way. So wonderful start to my career. It was a challenge, a wonderful challenge, and it prepared me for and really propelled me for the rest of my career. So great choice for me.
Yeah, nurses are amazing. You guys are the engine to the machine, and it is not a day that goes by that I don't celebrate the nurses, because you guys set the tone. You come in whether you're happy or not, we don't know it. And you make us feel warm and you make us feel welcome, and that's what you need sometimes. And I know that is so demanding. So in the ICU, was there a time when you experienced something that you said to yourself, I don't really know if I want to do this, like a traumatic experience or something that really touched you to the core?
Over the years, there were so many experiences that really did touch me to my core. And something interesting that I realized as I gotten older and just gained different life experiences, it it affected me emotionally. Some of these experiences that I had in the ICU, it began to affect me more emotionally, because when you're young, you haven't experienced significant loss in your life, you haven't experienced health challenges. You go to work, you see people, and you see sick patients and family members through a different lens.
Mhm.
But as I gain life experience and I lost to someone very close to me, and I'm caring for sick family members and these sort of things, I really, I gained a lot of humanity, and I can really empathize with people on a deeper level. So, um, it changed my experience, entirely in the ICU. And so now I'm being sure that I empathize with people. I sit with them. I listen to them more. I realize, yes, I have to be a nurse, and I have to change this bag of medications. But also at the same time, there's a mother here who's holding her son's hand and she's crying. Like, I need to sit here in this moment and take it all in, and be a support everyone here. So I see things in a different light now, through life experience, and it's changed my view. So yeah, a lot. I've seen a lot. I mean, I've seen countless people pass away. I've held people's hands as they took their last breath and didn't have any family members there. Heartbreaking moments, tragic moments, but it just makes you appreciate every day.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult for the patient and it's difficult for the practitioner. You know, I remember when I didn't even know I had the stage four. I think I rode my bike like 100 miles the day before I went to the hospital. And so my legs swelled up and I didn't really know what it was. I went to my internal specialist and it's like, maybe you got a hernia, and that wasn't it. And then before she left, she said, well, let's do a scan before you go. I said, okay. So we did the scan. I came home and she called me a couple hours later and she was crying. And I'm like, wait, this is not good. Why are you crying? She was like, something is terribly wrong. You need to get to the hospital right now. Got to the hospital. I found myself up in radiation, didn't know what was going on. Then the very next day, I wound up at UNC Chapel Hill in a chemo chair and still hadn't even got diagnosed because they had to slow this down. And then that's when I found out that I had a very rare stage 4 lymphoma, and my world kind of changed. And to your point, you're there, you're engaging with us from a patient standpoint. And at that time, we were very sensitive. Anything that's a ripple in the environment, in the atmosphere, we're just picking up on all of this. So if your mood and the way that you're presenting this information is out of kilter, that affects how I'm going to move forward with this diagnosis that I just got. And not only did I have
Absolutely.
the rare cancer, they told me, 1 to 3 years to live. So here's a guy that rode 100 miles 2 days ago, and now I'm in a chemo chair, and you're telling me I have an expiration date on my life, and you're insensitive to that. I'm not saying my doctors were, they're great, but to your point, it is so much mentally that you have to prepare for in addition to the patient, because you're that front line that's giving them this information.
And that's why it's just so important how, as healthcare providers, we even step into that room. That initial encounter that we're having with patients is so important. And I'm very intentional about just my whole my vibe when I walk into the room. I want to be I want to be a safe space for you. I want to be pleasant. I want to have a smile on my face. I want to introduce myself. I'm very intentional about all of these things. I like to summarize my visits and make sure that we're both on the same page before I exit that room, and you have a full level of understanding of everything that we discussed and what the plan is. So all of these things matter. All of these things matter.
It does. We're talking nursing, motherhood, and building a life with purpose with Sara. So you went back to school in 2017. What was that all about? So you're practicing, you're in the hospital, and now all of a sudden you want to go back to school.
So it started with back pain. I was young. I was a young nurse. I was in my young 20s, and my
Yeah.
back was aching and my feet were aching. I was coming home exhausted from work every day. I said, do I think I can continue doing this for the next decades? And
Yeah.
I said, no, I just can't do it. So it started with that. But there was a deeper level to it. I've always been someone who loves to invest in my growth. I never want to stay stagnant. I felt like working at the bedside as a nurse, I was carrying out orders. I would see a task show up on my computer. I'll complete the task. I'll check it off. And I wanted to be more involved in formulating the plan for the patient and figuring out, okay, what treatment, I just wanted a deeper level of understanding of what was going on. And I wanted to be, contribute more to patient care. So I decided you know what, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to take a leap of faith and I'm just going to do this. And, wonderful decision. Best decision I ever could have made.
Amen to that. Were you married at the time? Were you juggling family, or were you still single doing this, or how did that work for you?
So I was single, I was childless and single, so it was perfect timing
Perfect time.
and that's why now that I have kids and I hear sometimes, I hear all the time mothers saying that they were going to go back to school and they're working, they're managing children and going back to school. I commend you because it's hard enough. It's hard enough doing it without all these other responsibilities. So I commend the working mothers who are in school. But I actually got married the same year that I graduated with my master's degree as a family nurse practitioner. So it was a busy time, but yeah, I got married and then the kids came later.
Well, you know what? This
Yeah,
is
so it
good
was.
because. Mhm.
Mhm.
No, you go ahead.
Oh no, it was just an ideal time in life for me because I think I don't know if I could have done it with all the other responsibilities, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, things are changing so quickly. We have a very diverse listening audience here, and it's very good for our younger listeners and some of our rural listeners to hear and see someone like them doing these things, that you can be a successful Black woman and you can go to school and you can be a mother, because oftentimes there's a choice and you have to choose to be one, and something will be sacrificed. But you have shown that you can do it all with work. You can do it all with the right support. You can do it all. You guys make me want to go back to school. Interesting story. So I'm a UNC Chapel Hill patient, right? And so I'm an engineer too. And when I went to school, I double majored in engineering and pre-med. So I took the MCAT. So I was going to go to medical school, but then I got a job. And so the rest is history. And so the building that I wound up being treated in at UNC was a building that I built. My construction company, we built that. And so who knew years later I would be back in the building that I actually built as a cancer patient. And so when I went through the halls of the hospital, it speaks to you, right? And that voice was like, you should have went to medical school. You should have went to medical school. So sometimes in life, these things happen and we get detoured, but you will find your way back in that atmosphere. And so now I'm on, like I said, on the board at Duke, and I'm in the hospital all the time, and I have a nonprofit and do a lot of things. And that work kind of found me again. So it's almost like that calling found you. You started out and I think I might want to be a nurse, and then that found you, and go back to school. And so you are right where you need to be. And so that's a wonderful.
I wholeheartedly believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that when God has a plan for your life,
Yeah,
and you surrender yourself to that plan, it'll find you. It will find you for sure.
Mm-hmm. Acknowledge him in all thy ways, and he shall direct thy paths. That is a
Direct your
true
path.
statement. In 2019, when you graduated, the world was kind of turning upside down. COVID was starting.
Yeah.
How did that affect you?
So it was a scary time, initially, because I think none of us really had an understanding of exactly what COVID was. And you hear things, and I was scared. I was nervous, and so I remember getting my first COVID patient, and the moment of hesitation before walking into the room, I had a full hazmat suit on because we didn't know, right? So I was scared. Um I was thinking about my child because I was pregnant. I was thinking about, or my unborn child, because I was pregnant at the time, so I was scared about that. Um, I was seeing so much death around me. Um, it was it was heartbreaking. I held iPads of family members up to the faces of patients that were laying in the bed taking their last breath on the ventilator, so they could say their last goodbyes because they weren't able to step foot into the hospital. It was a heartbreaking time. It was traumatic. It was scary, but it also did teach me that it reinforced the fact that I had to have adaptability, and it reminded me how important us healthcare workers are in these crisis moments, in crisis situations. I ended up working as a travel nurse for a while during COVID, so I got to see um, many different hospitals and different environments and work with many different nurses. And I'll say, I mean, nursing and nurses really are heroes because we were really working hard, and sometimes we didn't have that support during that time. We were reusing our PPE, more our N95 masks and face shields. We had to keep them in paper bags and take them to work with us and every day, and reuse the same PPE at some facilities that I worked at. There were some healthcare providers and members of the team who refused to go into patient rooms during cold blue situations. So the nurses would run into the room and run the whole thing. So it was a strange time. I'm glad that we're past that, and I'm hoping that with this new virus, I'm hoping that that gets contained so we don't have to relive this.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it was a strange time, for all of us, and especially us who got to see these things firsthand in the hospital.
yeah. You guys are family. You were my family. I was diagnosed in 2021, and so hospitals were still shut down. And my first chemo session was 16 hours. No one could come into the hospital. I was by myself and all alone, but it was the nurses. They were my family. They became my family. That's who I saw. That's all I could see. And I had one nurse, she sat with me the whole 16 hours, and it was just, you guys are amazing. Can't say enough about you. So you are right. You guys run the joint, as they say in the streets. So you moved on to occupational health. What was that transition like, and what brought that about?
So I'll be honest, I'm still in it. I'm in the thick of it right now.
Yeah.
And it fell in my lap because I was working in urgent care. I've been in the urgent care setting as a nurse practitioner for almost 4 years. And I
Mhm.
walked into work one day, and at the end of my shift, I got a phone call that said, "Hey, this clinic will be closed in a few days, and you just worked your last shift." So it hit me like a ton of bricks, totally unexpected, out of the blue. I was given no heads up. And I said, "Well, let me log on to Indeed and figure out figure out what we're gonna do here."
Yeah.
So I was kind of perusing through job postings, and I saw occupational health, and I was just reading the types of patients that I would be seeing and my job duties, and a lot of it aligned with what I was already doing in the urgent care. So I said, this could be something. So I applied. I got the job, and I've been working in this setting now for maybe 3 to 4 months, I'd say, and it's a challenge. It is definitely a new challenge. I'm caring for a lot of patients who are coming in with workplace injuries. So,
Mm-hmm.
doing something at work, they stepped on a nail and went through their boot and into their foot, or they fell at work, or they were attacked by a student, one of their students in the classroom. They come in with bite marks, actually in her face. Someone came in last week with bite marks in her face, falling down, just hurting themselves at work. So, my goal and my focus as an occupational health nurse practitioner is just keeping workers safe um, and able to perform their job. So I'm just trying to get them back to as close to their baseline as I possibly can and in a safe way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's been a journey thus far, and I'm still learning. I'm learning like I'm back in school.
Wow, good for you. Look, urgent care sits it has positioned itself in our communities. It's almost like it's pivotal now in our community. And
Yeah.
can you speak a little bit about what do you see, the type of patients that you see in the urgent cares? We all know the Henrietta Lacks and the Tuskegee experiments, but one of the things that I talk about a lot in advocacy is just breaking all those misnomers down now in medicine and to get our people less skeptical about medicine. And it seems like urgent care has now become that place because before we would just go to the ER for everything. And now we go to urgent care. So what have you seen in the nomenclature of the urgent cares popping up and how that positions itself in the community?
So I've seen a plethora of things, and I have many thoughts. Being there for 4 years of my life. On one end of the spectrum, a lot of patients came in and they treated the urgent care like their PCP office. So they would come in regularly to get refills on their blood pressure medication, which it's not appropriate, but it's necessary because they didn't have insurance. A lot of patients did not have insurance, so they had trouble paying for their medications or setting up an appointment with their doctor. They couldn't be seen, so they would come to the urgent care in a hypertensive crisis, or I ran out of my medications. Can I get a refill? So I did see a lot of mental health patients came in. That should have been treated in a more appropriate setting, but they came to the urgent care. So I'm seeing a lot of patients. I was seeing a lot of patients that didn't really have access to the appropriate care, so they came to the urgent care. Unfortunately, on the other end of the spectrum, I worked I worked in a few different urgent care settings, locations, and it kind of depending on where I work would determine the type of patients that I would see. So in other like more affluent areas, I would see patients in perfectly good health. They would just come in, for a flu shot, or maybe they were preparing dinner and they cut their finger, or maybe they felt that their child had an ear infection. So I take a look and treat them. So it really just um, it really just shed light on the disparities that are there. Just seeing the different types of patients depending on the location that I worked. So that was very interesting. And as far as all the urgent cares, showing up in the community, I think there's a saturation. Hence the reason why my clinic closed down, because another urgent care opened up probably 3 doors down,
Mm-hmm.
and there went the business. So there's definitely a saturation there. They're a wonderful place. Um, as an alternative to going to the ER, because I mean, even from a practical standpoint, who wants to pay the ER bill? My daughter, she had an ear infection and strep throat at the same time, and I said, okay, well, the urgent care is closed, so let's take it to the ER. I think my bill after insurance, my ER bill is all. I think it was like over $2,000. And at the urgent care, I could have paid out of pocket for the visit, and it would have been definitely less than $500. So it from that standpoint, they are wonderful. And you don't have to sit. The wait times in the ER are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They're not great at the urgent care either, but you're definitely going to be seen within the hour. So
Yeah.
it's great that patients have access. They have access to alternate care and something different than the hospital. So that is nice.
Yeah, insurance matters. I mean, I was sitting here just having flashbacks, and you're talking about the cost. I mean, I am several figures into my treatment, and my CAR-T alone in 2022, I think, was $1.5 million, and now it's upwards of close to 3, right? And you say, why? Why is that? That's just CAR-T, and then at the end, it didn't give us the results that we needed. So our healthcare is definitely expensive. Most people insurance, and you can tell, Sara, when you go into the hospital, you can tell the ones that have good insurance and the ones that don't because of the treatment that you get. Because they're just not serving up $1.5 million worth of treatment to everybody. And when I go in there, I feel bad because you can tell if they don't have good insurance, they getting standard line of care, radiation, whatever that is, and then that's pretty much it. And then, you have this in the cancer space, we have this not buyer's remorse, but we're very regretful because we want everybody to get the best standard of care. And I know I'm getting this and the person beside me isn't. And so insurance does matter and the cost matters. And we got to figure out a way how to make that accessible to all. When I was growing up, I grew up in a rural county in North Carolina. My grandparents were farmers, and before them, they were sharecroppers, that kind of thing. And they would get sick and they wouldn't even say anything about it. They would have cancer, especially the men. They would get prostate cancer and never say a word. My grandfather passed of prostate cancer, and we didn't realize he had it until he died. He didn't say a word. Why? Because he felt like I have to take care of my family.
Why do you feel that is? Why is that? Why was that?
I think above all, the ability to provide and protect your family supersedes any of your health issues. You've probably seen this too, growing up historically. I'm sure your great grandparents. That is first and foremost. No matter how they lived their life, no matter what they did in their life, whether they drank or were they good or were they in church or whether they had faith or they didn't, their number one goal was to provide and protect for their family at all costs. And so if that means I'm sick, I can't afford to be sick. I got to keep going out here getting on this tractor. I got to bring these crops in. And that is, I think, the single driver. And then think about in that environment, you in a rural area. At that time, the Klan was running rampant. Who was your doctor? He had to be a sympathizer because if he or she wasn't, they wouldn't be practicing. So are you getting the best of care? So especially in these rural areas, they had a lot of things facing them that prevented them from going to the doctor. Yeah.
Wow. So imagine, so many people that just didn't have they simply didn't have the access or the means to receive that care. So
yeah, no access.
And the fact that this is still going on to in different circumstances, but to an extent, even today, it's sad to see, and you're right. Something does need to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. So you are very active on YouTube and social media. In fact, my sister is the one that saw you. And she said, Tony, you need to talk to her and get her on your show. And so, yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh,
yeah, that's how I found you. Yeah. So when I reached out, I'd be like, who's this random person reaching out to me? But thank you for being here. But anyway, so how did that get started for you? I know you're in the advocacy space. You advocate for people and your patients. Where did the social media component come in?
I always had this little itch. I had an itch. So when I was younger, let's see, when was it nursing school or when I was practicing as a nurse, I would search the internet looking for answers. Like, I want to know if there is another nurse who looks like me, who is experiencing the same thing I'm experiencing as a nurse. And I just couldn't find them. I could not find it. I was experiencing bullying initially in nursing, all sorts of things. I was the youngest nurse on my unit. And that came with so many different challenges. And I could not find anyone who could relate to my story. So I told myself, I'm going to create a channel on YouTube, and I'm going to talk about all the things that I could not find. And I want to be that person for somebody else because I really did need that support and I did not have it. So that's where it started for me. I touched on topics and I still touch on topics that I can't find anywhere else on the internet and I couldn't find. And I just try to just pull back the curtain so people can really see and hear about those real nursing experiences, you know? So I try to keep it real and be honest all the time and just transparent about the challenges that I face, both when I worked at the bedside and now as a nurse practitioner. And I actually really enjoy it. It's very fulfilling. It's fun for me. And I've met so many different people. Like right now, I'm here due to my YouTube channel. So I love it. I love it. I plan to keep it going. And times life is busy, you know, as you probably know, when you want to go and edit or record something, you need you need peace and quiet. And I have 2 toddlers running around my house. So it can be challenging at times. But it's been a wonderful journey. The social media has been a wonderful journey.
I would love for you to participate in our Missing at the Table series, and I want to talk about that a little bit. So you asked me why did I feel like African American men in particular were avoiding the hospital. Why do you think we're missing at the table in healthcare and in medicine? What's going on with our kids? What's the messaging? What are we getting wrong?
That's a good question. I think there's so many different levels to that. I think that one, I can speak for myself. My initial thought is just being unaware of the possibilities. Like there are so many different career paths that were not discussed with me growing up. I didn't even know that it was an option for me. You know, I'm grateful that my parents were both teachers, so you know they promoted education and they were very passionate about me going to college and pursuing a career. But imagine all the kids out there who don't have both parents. You know, that's actually the norm these days. It's rare to have both of your parents, let alone parents who went to college and you know promote education. So I think a lot of people don't even know what their options are. You know, they feel that this is not a possibility for me. So I think that that's first and foremost, you know. And then, I mean, there are a lot of barriers there, you know, financially, that can be a huge barrier. Um, I'm still paying off loans, you know, because I didn't have, you know, family that were going to pay for my schooling. You know, I didn't have that. So I took loans out to make it happen for myself. So, you know, the financial burden of school, and, you know, the education system, you know, depending on what community you live in, is it preparing students well to pursue a career, you know, or further or higher education? I think there's many levels to it. I actually talked about it some years back when I first gained my family nurse practitioner certification. I don't work with any other Black providers. Like
No.
in the group that I've worked in and the different companies that I work for since becoming a nurse practitioner, I had, you know what? I actually worked alongside the first Black female physician last week, actually at one of the clinics that I worked at with my company. But it's so rare. And it's sad to see, you know. So that's something else that I promote heavily on my YouTube channel is, please, we need you. we need representation. So that's why I'm always trying to put my best foot forward all the time in every environment that I'm in, because I feel like I'm representing for all of us, and I want to make us proud.
You know, for our parents and their parents, the way out was education. And that is a big difference too. I mean, because we promoted get your education, but now society has changed, and it's that do be culture, right? That selfish culture. I'm gonna get mine, you got to get yours, and we wrapped up in entertainment and athletics, but that's not sustainable, and that's not where most of you are going to end up. And so when I'm speaking at schools and things, talking to kids, that is a barrier now because they're so insist on the fast way to do things. And so going to
Mhm.
school like you did and like I did, that's too long. I don't want to do that. I want this instant gratification. But sometimes you have to do the hard work. And the parents aren't even
You do.
instilling that in them because they're selfish and they're trying to do them even though they have kids. And so you can see where the change started happening in our community, and that's not necessarily for the good. I preach to my son all the time. I have one child. He just graduated from NC State. He did it in 2.5 years. He's in agricultural biological
Congrats.
engineering, and he wanted to be a neurosurgeon, but now
Mhm.
he's going back. He's going to get his master's in business and engineering. But medical school was
Mhm.
always on the table. But then he says, Dad, he's only 19, right? So I'm like super proud of him. How fast. And one thing I always wanted to see, I said, Lord, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I said, let me see him finish high school, and I did. And I was like, I want to see him finish college. And I have seen these things and I want to see him do more things. And I said, just because he's clipping off these things, don't take my life. I want to keep seeing some stuff, you know?
Right, let me
But
see what
let me keep seeing. But yeah, just even with him, it's like this barrier now is like, that's going to take a long time when he got dove into what neurosurgery was like and how long that would take. I said, well, look at it like this. When you get your first job, that's not your forever job. So you may waste 5, 6 years on that job and then you'll switch to another job. I said, and by the time you settle in, you would have worked 12, 13 years of your life. You would have been done with all of that. And that is the thing that kind of stuck with him. So now he's reconsidering. But like you said, to get the kids to see that and to prepare them for that, not just see it, but you got to be in the game, right? You got to keep yourself in the game. So if that's a choice, then you can be in the game. Our kids not even in the game. And then when they wake up and they want to do things, they're not prepared for it.
You're right. It's building that foundation for them and preparing them is so very important. And I'm beginning to feel strongly about the fact that everybody is, like you said, looking for a shortcut, the easy way out. Not wanting that work in, not wanting to put the phone down and look around and be present in the moment and realize, okay, I need to really buckle down and study. Like the attention spans of not just the youth, but even us as adults
Yeah.
is it's shrinking because we're so distracted all of the time. So even just thinking back on when I was in nursing school and studying, imagine if, I mean, social media was not nearly what it is now back at that time. So having that constant distraction all of the time, I don't know if I would have been able to successfully finish or complete it. So it's very challenging. So these social media companies, they create these apps to be addictive, and it's working. I feel like you just kind of, since I've been more intentional about um, limiting my screen time, I'm more observant of the people around me, and we're all just living so distracted. And I actually do think that is affecting everyone very negatively, especially the youth. So I think that that's a major barrier as well.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, if you could do it all over again, would you take the same path?
Hmm, that's a good question. I don't think so. I really am at peace with what I'm doing in my career. I'm at peace. I enjoy it. I love caring for patients. I love even just talking with them and talking with family members. I truly do enjoy it. I I'm in that transition period right now working in occupational health. So seeing all these different injuries, it's challenging, but that's what life is about. Life is about new challenges and never really staying stagnant. So in hindsight, I think I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change a thing.
That's good. I know we're coming down to the end. I want to give you the last couple of minutes. What do you want to leave with our listening audience? What do you want to tell them? What do you want to share? What words of encouragement can you leave for them?
I would say a few different things. Number one, try to be more present. Try to put the phone down, turn the TV off, and just look around, look at your family, and really just appreciate the life that you're living. That's something that I am constantly reminding myself of, instead of always striving to do more and accomplish more, check things off a list, just taking a moment and appreciating the here and the now, and just trying to find that and and contentment. That's the word I was looking for. Finding that contentment and being content with what we have is number one. Number two, I'd say, is just being kind. Being kind, because you never really know what struggle somebody is in the thick of and really experiencing at this exact moment. So extending grace to people, because life is hard. As we age, we're losing loved ones, we're experiencing health challenges, there's a lot going on. So just extending grace to people, because you don't really know what anybody is going through. Those will be my main ways. Anyone who is considering pursuing nursing, I say go for it. It's a wonderful, wonderful career. It's been life-changing for me and others in my family. I've been able to care for family members. I've been able to call in prescriptions and diagnose people in my own family who never went to the doctor, never went to be seen by a provider at all. So I've been able to be an advocate for not only myself, but for family members. And it's been wonderful. So be kind, find contentment, be at peace with your life, be present, and pursue your education. Those would be my final words.
Nursing, motherhood, and building a life with purpose. We're talking to Sara. Sara, where can we find you? What's your handles?
So you can find me on YouTube. My YouTube name is According to Sara, and I try to upload weekly, unless my kids are driving me crazy that week. But I try to upload weekly, and I talk all things nursing and life. So follow me on YouTube, and you can also catch me on TikTok as well at According to Sara.
You heard it here, According to Sara. Go check her out. Sara, thank you so much for being here. I look forward to a part 2. And it's been a blessing having you on the show. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.